He survived explosions, robots, and Hollywood's most dangerous experiments. But Grant Imahara never saw this coming. One moment, he was enjoying a quiet dinner with his fiancée. Hours later, doctors were fighting for his life behind closed operating room doors. Fans of Mythbusters believed they knew the calm genius who built the impossible, the man trusted with the real R2-D2 and million-dollar secrets. But what was happening inside his body told a very different story. At just 49, Grant was gone, leaving behind shock, unanswered questions, and a final tragedy no one was prepared for. This is what really happened in his final hours, and why his death still feels so unreal. Grant Imahara was born on October 23, 1970 in Los Angeles, and from the beginning, his life was shaped by quiet sacrifice and intense focus. His mother, Carolyn, raised him alone, working long days at an accounting firm and studying business at night. They lived modestly in a small two-bedroom apartment, where she turned the dining room into a study space and spent hours every evening helping him learn. Instead of toys, she bought him science kits, and one simple Radio Shack kit ignited a lifelong obsession. By age 5, Grant was already taking appliances apart, memorizing every wire and screw without writing anything down. In a single year, he dismantled 38 household devices. Once, he discovered a defect in a brand-new microwave. His mother reported it, and the company recalled more than 1,000 units. Even then, his curiosity came with risks. At 6, he electrocuted himself while experimenting with a radio and briefly stopped his own heart. But he never told his mother, afraid she'd take away his tools. Everything crystallized in 1977 when 7-year-old Grant saw Star Wars in theaters. He barely moved for 2 hours. Afterward, he spoke only in robot beeps and spent the summer building his own version of R2-D2 from scrap parts scavenged from dumpsters. He skipped school, slept little, studied college-level manuals by flashlight, and even rewired his school's PA system to play the Star Wars theme, improving it, though he was suspended anyway. At Crestview Prep, where he earned a full scholarship, Grant's brilliance only intensified. He corrected teachers, built autonomous robots years ahead of their time, and was eventually barred from science fairs because judges thought his work was impossible. He burned his hands soldering, developed early carpal tunnel, and spent hours hiding in a science closet building robots instead of attending PE. One teacher quietly let him. By graduation, Grant had built 13 working robots, while many of his classmates were still struggling with basic math. When Grant Imahara entered USC in the late 1980s, he fully expected to become an engineer. But by 1992, the pressure caught up with him. He overloaded his schedule, burned out, and seriously considered walking away from engineering altogether. Film and storytelling pulled at him, and for a moment, he even explored switching to screenwriting. Then a single encounter changed his direction. He met Tomlinson Holman, the creator of the THX sound system, and was instantly inspired. On the spot, Grant offered to work for him, unpaid. The job meant cleaning a cluttered office and organizing technical papers, but it gave Grant something far more valuable, a glimpse of how engineering could serve creativity. That year of volunteering reignited his purpose. Holman became his mentor, and through him, Grant landed an internship at THX. After graduating in 1993, that internship turned into a full-time role. As a licensing engineer, Grant tested speakers and audio systems down to the smallest detail, ensuring they met strict THX standards. He helped standardize theater sound across hundreds of cinemas. Occasionally, he even wore a C-3PO suit for promotional events, an odd assignment that quietly foreshadowed his future in entertainment. In 1996, Grant made another bold move, leaving THX to join Industrial Light and Magic's model shop. Unlike many model makers, Grant brought deep electrical engineering expertise. He designed the internal systems, circuits, lights, motors, that made movie props come alive. Over the next 9 years, he worked on Star Wars Episodes 1 to 3, the Matrix sequels, and The Lost World, Jurassic Park. His childhood dream came full circle when Lucasfilm trusted him with R2-D2. Grant was invited to restore and upgrade the original droids in the archives, eventually becoming one of only 3 people in the U.S. authorized to operate R2-D2 at live events. By 1999, The Phantom Menace was deep in production, and Grant Imahara found himself leading what was essentially a rescue mission for R2-D2. The older units were temperamental, stalling on tracks, overheating, and breaking down mid-take. Grant's fixes were practical, but brilliant. He swapped the tiny wheels for larger ones that handled set floors better, added a motor from an electric wheelchair to improve movement, and rewired the power and radio controls from the ground up. Suddenly, R2 became smoother, more reliable, and far easier to operate. When Attack of the Clones came along, the responsibility grew. Grant was tasked with upgrading all 12 R2-D2 units, and he went straight for the weak points. One of his biggest improvements was replacing the old halogen lighting in the dome with custom LED systems, smaller, sharper, and more durable, driven by a microcontroller design he had previously developed for Galaxy Quest. He wasn't just inventing, he was refining, reusing, and making movie magic more dependable. The job was rarely easy. Sets like the Naboo sequences were rough on the droids, uneven floors, delicate decor, and surfaces that had always been R2's enemy since the original trilogy. Even small details like salt used to simulate snow could jam mechanisms and ruin a shot. That history is exactly why producer Rick McCallum pushed for a full overhaul on Episode 2. Grant led the electronics rebuild while teammate Nelson Hall handled the physical restoration, down to correcting R2's signature blue after it had been altered. By the time filming moved to Sydney, Grant wasn't just fixing the droid. He was operating it on set and even supervising Anthony Daniels in the C-3PO suit, a sign of how much the production trusted him. He also helped create quick-change battery packs, solving the constant problem of heavy, slow, unreliable batteries and keeping R2 working longer with less downtime. Even off the clock, Grant stayed obsessed, in the best way. Around 2000, he and ILM friends began building personal R2 replicas from scratch, refusing to copy official parts out of respect for the franchise. For Grant, it was never just fandom. It was integrity, craftsmanship, and an almost surgical attention to detail. He wasn't simply a behind-the-scenes engineer. He became one of the very few people Lucasfilm trusted as a true R2 technician, the kind producers called by name when something went wrong. By 1999, Grant Imahara's reputation at Industrial Light and Magic had risen quickly. Just 3 years after joining the studio, he was promoted to chief model maker for Galaxy Quest, putting him in charge of one of ILM's most high-profile projects. He designed the lighting systems for the NEA Protector spacecraft, using custom circuit boards to create subtle, shimmering effects. It was the moment where Grant's engineering expertise fully merged with movie magic, and few people could bridge those two worlds as effortlessly as he could. Outside of film, Grant continued pushing his ideas further. He designed a combat robot called Dead Blow and competed on BattleBots, winning 10 of 17 matches. The robot's success led to toys, a growing fan base, and even a book, Kickin' Bot, published in 2003. Grant understood how to turn technical creativity into something people could connect with beyond the screen. His talents weren't limited to science fiction or robots. In 2008, he was brought in to modernize the Energizer Bunny. Grant rebuilt the animatronics from the ground up, designing custom circuit boards, radio controls, and 8-bit systems that allowed the bunny to drum, wave, and perform on cue. Each unit ran on 44 AA batteries, an intentional nod to the brand's keeps going and going promise. Grant didn't just build the systems, he operated them during shoots, applying the same precision whether the project was a blockbuster film or a commercial. In 2005, Grant's career took another defining turn when he joined Mythbusters. He wasn't simply replacing a departing team member, he transformed the show. With a USC engineering degree and years of experience at ILM, Grant brought a new level of technical depth. He already knew Adam Savage and Tori Bellisi, and had crossed paths with Jamie Hyneman through BattleBots. As Adam later said, Grant was the only one with a formal engineering degree, and it showed. Over 9 years and more than 200 episodes, Grant became known as the intellectual engine of the build team. His skills perfectly balanced Carey's artistry and Tori's hands-on builds, turning the trio into one of the most effective and beloved teams in the show's history. Grant Imahara wasn't just the calm genius with equations and circuit boards. He got his hands dirty, sometimes in unforgettable ways. On Mythbusters, that often meant enduring the messier side of experimentation. In one infamous 2009 episode, the team tested whether earwax could be used as candle wax. What sounded funny turned revolting fast. When Grant heated a jar of earwax collected from hundreds of patients, the smell was so overwhelming he started gagging and had to leave the set. Years later, he still called it the grossest thing I've ever done. Still, Grant always came back to what he loved most, robots. Before Mythbusters, he competed on BattleBots with his hammer-wielding robot Deadblow, earning respect in the combat robotics world. On television, he became known not just for surviving chaos, but for building with purpose. In 2010, he created an animatronic skeleton sidekick for The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, which quickly became a fan favorite. After leaving Mythbusters in 2014, he collaborated with Disney on a project that helped lay the groundwork for the Stuntronics robots, now performing at theme parks. Some of the show's risks were far more serious than gross-out experiments. In a 2011 episode involving a replica flying guillotine, the device accidentally triggered while Grant was loading it. The blade sliced through his shirt, narrowly missing his stomach. From that moment on, he treated every build with even greater caution, a reminder that curiosity often came with real danger. Away from cameras, Grant kept his personal life private. He shared a deep bond with costume designer Jennifer Newman, whom he proposed to in 2016 at what began as a surprise birthday party. She was with him in his final days. In his final months, Grant focused on joy. He spent weeks building a lifelike animatronic Baby Yoda, not for profit or fame, but to visit children's hospitals. "He's a happiness maker," Grant once said. That belief guided his life, his work, and the legacy he left behind. Grant Imahara's Japanese-American heritage was central to who he was. His middle name, Masaru, meaning victory, suited him well. Those traits were visible in everything he built, from robots to film props. During his years on Mythbusters, 2005 to 2014, Grant wasn't just testing myths. He was showing a generation of Asian Americans that engineers and creators could also be visible, respected figures on television. Grant's departure from Mythbusters in 2014 stunned fans. For 9 years, he had been a core part of the build team alongside Carey Byron and Tori Bellisi. Behind the scenes, budget cuts and pay reductions led the trio to walk away rather than accept diminished roles. Even Adam Savage later said the decision was a mistake. Many viewers agreed. Without the build team, the show lost its spark, and within 2 seasons, it was canceled. In 2016, Grant reunited with Carey and Tori for Netflix's White Rabbit project. The chemistry was still there, and the show mixed science, history, and wild engineering ideas with their trademark energy. Despite positive reception, Netflix canceled it after 1 season, reportedly due to high costs and a crowded format. Grant was disappointed. He saw the show as another way to make science accessible and fun. In early 2020, Grant unveiled one of his most personal creations, a fully animatronic Baby Yoda. Built in just 3 months, the figure blinked, tilted its head, and moved with uncanny realism. Grant designed, printed, and programmed it himself, working with a prop artist to finish the delicate details. He didn't build it for fame or money. He planned to take it to children's hospitals to bring joy to sick kids. Even then, Grant was still shaping the future. Years earlier, he had hinted at a secret Disney project. In 2018, it was revealed as Stickman, a robot capable of flipping through the air like a stunt performer. That work evolved into Disney's Stuntronix robots, now used in theme parks worldwide. The evening of July 13th, 2020 began quietly for Grant Imahara. He was at home in Los Angeles having dinner with his girlfriend when the night suddenly took a frightening turn. At just 49, Grant had been battling severe headaches for days, but around 9 p.m., his condition worsened rapidly. He became dizzy, his neck and back were in intense pain, his legs went numb, and within minutes, he was unresponsive. Paramedics arrived quickly and rushed him to the hospital, where doctors immediately identified the cause, a brain aneurysm that had been silently developing and was now catastrophic. Grant was taken into emergency surgery and survived the first operation, but he never regained consciousness. A second surgery followed the next day, with no improvement. An MRI on Monday revealed extensive brain damage, leaving no chance of recovery. After heartbreaking discussions, his family made the painful decision to remove life support. Grant Imahara passed away, leaving the world stunned by the sudden loss of a brilliant and gentle mind. Tributes poured in from across science, entertainment, and pop culture. Adam Savage described Grant as kind, generous, and extraordinarily gifted. Discovery Channel honored him with a marathon of Mythbusters, Killer Robots, and White Rabbit Project. Even Dungeons & Dragons paid tribute, with Matthew Mercer naming a beloved character, Imahara Joe, after him. Grant's fiancée, Jennifer Newman, shared her grief openly, saying she had lost a part of her heart. Yet his legacy continued. On what would have been his 50th birthday, his family and friends launched the Grant Imahara STEAM Foundation, dedicated to inspiring and supporting young minds in science, technology, engineering, art, and math. The foundation, funded in part by an auction of Grant's Mythbusters props, now provides scholarships and opportunities, ensuring that his passion for learning and mentorship lives on.